everybody, it's Katie, the Celestial Homebody, and welcome to part 2 of trying to make you money selling your crochet at markets. I have scoured YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of the social medias to try to compile a list for you of the overall market best sellers. These are items amongst multiple platforms, amongst multiple states in the United States, amongst multiple countries that continuously sell well for amigurumi crocheters who are selling their plushies at markets. If you missed part 1 of market bestsellers, I will link it at the end of this video if you want to go check it out after. But today we're going over 17 more crochet market bestsellers that will make you money. Now, just to remind you, if you did see part 1, that I'm going to be listing off these market bestsellers, and in the description box, there's going to be links to patterns so that you can make these items as well. Some of these patterns are free, some of them are paid patterns, but they're all going to be in the description box. As I was consuming all of this market bestseller content, I was taking notes as to how much people sold their items for so that I could give you guys a range of how much each item fetches at market. Before we start, just a disclaimer, please keep in mind that what sells for somebody else at a market might not sell the best for you. Also, every market is different. If you have been vending for any amount of time, you probably know that something that popped off at your last market doesn't sell a single unit at your next one. I don't know why that is the way that it is, but sometimes it just be like that. Also, all of the dollar amounts that I'm going to be mentioning in this video are in United States dollars. So if you are out of the States, you might want to convert USD to whatever your native currency is so that you can get an accurate gauge as to how much these things are selling for. All right, enough yapping. Let's get into it with the very first being frogs. People love the frogs. Any size, shape, color of frogs, it's probably a good bet that it's going to sell well for you. You could go the route of ye old leggy frog that has been around for a long time, but I feel that most crocheters are phasing out of the leggy frog, and we're starting to see more in the little pudgy frog type. Throw a mushroom cap on it, that's just extra bonus points for the cottagecore people. You could do big frogs, little frogs, keychain frogs, fat frogs, skinny frogs, long-limbed frogs, stubby little limb frogs. Dress them up like a wizard. The good news is your frog is probably going to sell. Now, this one has a very large monetary range depending on how much detail you put into your frog. For example, the mushroom cap frogs might sell for a little bit more, closer to the $15 range. If you're doing your standard leggy frog, I say $8 to $15 is a really safe range to go in. But there is also this pattern with these adorable little frogs sitting on lily pads. For just the standard sitting frog, you're looking at $5 to $8, but if you did the ones with the lily pads and the little flowers on their head, that is closer to the $12 to $15 range. Green is obviously going to be your frog bestseller color, but I have had reports that funky, wonky colors of frogs like rainbow or using variegated yarns are also good sellers. Next up, we have snails. Again, this is for that cottagecore crowd. And what's awesome about snails is that you can customize the shells to be cute little things. If you've been in the crochet community for a while, then you have probably seen the Garden Hoe Crochet Snail Council with all of the different snail fruit shells. Multiple people have said that snails are great sellers for them. Even just standard non-fruit shells are still really good sellers, especially amongst the kids, because it's kind of a weird little niche creature that they don't see a lot in plushie form at Walmart or Target, or I was about to say Toys R Us, but RIP Toys R Us. Snails are a tricky one to price because they tend to be on the longer side of market prep. They're closer to an hour to make, which when you're market prepping items, you like to normally keep it around the half an hour to 45-minute mark. At least that's how I do it personally. So for an item that takes an hour long, I personally like to get at least $15 for it. But with the size that snails come out, I've seen people selling them between the $8 and $15 range. Next up is little bees, and we're not talking about the pill bees as I call them. We're talking about more realistic bees. These are great sellers, especially in the springtime, but these sell great all year round from what I've seen. I'm listing 2 patterns for you in the description box. This first one, I just fell in love with how cute and fluffy it is. This is a little splooting bee. And if you're interested in making it fuzzy like this, I know that she used Feels Like Bliss yarn from Lion brand. I think that you can get it at Michael's. And I guarantee you can hold me to this, that this is going to sell at a market if you bring it. There's also this pattern by Shield Maiden Crochet on Etsy. It is an incredibly cheap pattern. And while yes, these non-pill bees are more work, these are unique. You don't see them a lot at crocheters' booths. Everybody and their monkey's uncle is doing the pill bees, and while they do sell well for some, it's not consistent amongst all crocheters. In fact, for some crocheters, myself included, bees are amongst their worst sellers continuously market to market, just because that is so saturated because everybody is selling bees at their booth. So if you have something that is a little bit different, has a little bit more spice to it with their legs and antennas, or using a fun fluffy yarn, then you're going to have a much better chance of selling your bee to a bee lover, which is a lot of people. The pill bees fetch like a $5 to $10 price, if even that. But for these more complex, realistic bees, I've seen them being sold in the $15 to $25 range, which is completely fair. Next up is little ice cream cones. I'm going to link for you guys a free pattern for this little ice cream cone. These are great sellers, especially in the summertime. These are incredibly quick makes. They're a good, what I like to call, shut up toy, because it's a little $3 to $5 item that does not take much time at all. Kids love them because what kid doesn't love ice cream? And it's cheap enough that their parent can get them to say, all right, we got you something. Let's be on our merry way. If you're going to make ice cream cones for your market, I recommend doing a bunch of different flavors, doing a mint chocolate chip flavor, chocolate, vanilla, Neapolitan if you really want to get fancy. Add some with sprinkles. You can do them with faces or without faces. And I know that in this Instagram pattern, she puts them on keychains, which is not a bad idea. However, for something like this, I would recommend marketing them more as backpack buddies, because what 10-year-old who wants an ice cream plushie has a set of keys? I mean, I don't know, maybe they do, but I feel like most 10-year-olds are going to have a backpack. So if you market them as backpack buddies, bring your ice cream to school with you. This is just a bonus tip for you. If you want to do ice cream cones and make them a little bit bigger and use a chunkier yarn, I highly recommend the Loops and Threads Fluffy Flex from Michael's. I actually have some of it right there. It has little flecks in it that already look like sprinkles. So if you use that yarn, then you can avoid the work of embroidering sprinkles onto it. With the ice cream cones, you can also go the extra mile and do some double and triple scoop ice cream cone plushies that a kid just might want to have on their bed, or somebody like me who wants a triple decker ice cream cone to sit on their couch and use as decor. Depending on how big you make your ice cream cones, if you're just doing little keychain ice cream cones, $5 price is a perfect price. If you want to do them a little bit bigger, I've seen them being sold in the $8 to $15 range. Next up is fidget gummy worms. This is actually a free tutorial here on YouTube by yours truly. And this has always been a bestseller for me personally. And now that I have the tutorial up and more people are doing the fidget gummy worms, I'm getting reports from every which way that these are market bestsellers for them as well. Consumers love a fidget. We're just in that day and age where everybody wants to be doing something with their hands. I think it all started with the fidget spinner. Who was around for the fidget spinner phase? Hands up in the comments. But these little gummy worms only take about 10 minutes to make, and they fetch between $5 to $10. I even personally sold a couple at my recent convention that I vended at for $12. Now, do keep in mind for these, you do have a slightly higher cost of materials to make these because of what goes on the inside of them in order to make them the fidget and bendy and hold their shape. So do keep that in mind. But still, for the amount of time that these take, you could make a ton of them in an hour, therefore equating to close to $50 an hour paying yourself for crochet. These are also really good scrap busters. You can pair really any color. Of course, you could do the traditional trolley sour gummy worm colors, but you don't have to. Go through your scraps. You don't need much yarn at all to do 2 colors. And if you ever run out of yarn in a particular color as you're making your gummy worm, go ahead and make it 3, 4 colors. Somebody is going to love it, I promise you. Next up on the list is cows. Even if you're not in a rural area, people love the cows. And I'm going to be honest with you. I thought that the whole strawberry sunflower cow thing was going to be a phase, but here we are, 2025, and people are still selling the cows like they're hotcakes. Now, there are a couple of different cow patterns that are bestsellers across the social medias that I personally saw. I'm going to link one for you that has a bunch of different variants because for me personally, I don't like making the same thing over and over and over again for a market. That is one surefire way for me to get burnt out. So I feel like this pack is really good because although you are still making cows, you get to make them in different fruits, different flowers. Of course, you can make just your standard moo moo milk cow, but it might make making these a little bit more fun for you. For these larger cows, $35 to $50 is a pretty consistent range that I have seen across the internet. But I recently just stumbled across a pattern that is a no-so-little baby cow that I think you could get probably $15 for, and it might not take you even an hour to make. Next up is dinosaurs. I'm going to link for you guys a little standing up dinosaur, but I have also heard reports of dinos like Triceratops selling really, really well. So I'm going to leave the dinosaur pattern up to what you want to make. Dinosaurs in general are good sellers though, especially amongst kids and amongst parents who have little babies. What I love about crocheting dinosaurs is that you can really get funky fresh with the colors that you use. I am not a variegated yarn girl normally, but when I make dinosaurs, I love to use variegated yarns. It just works so well on them. So if you have had a variegated yarn skein sitting in your stash that you have no idea what to use it on, maybe try a dinosaur. It's probably going to sell well for you. These little dinos I have seen sold in the $10 to $20 range, obviously depending on size of what yarn and hook you use with them. Next up are these little flower pals. These are a super duper quick make and they're so much fun because of all of the combos that you can do. This is actually a 3-in-1 pattern, so you get 3 different petal shapes. You can do a rounded petal shape, a sunflower petal shape, or a daisy petal shape. These are very popular with both kids and adults. I know that adults like to actually put them like on their car dashboards or use them as little desk buddies. I actually made one for myself that's over on my desk over there right now with little pastel petals that just sits there and cheers me up while I'm working. These little guys take no time at all. We're talking like 15 to 30 minutes, even if you're a slow crocheter, and these sell for between $8 and $15. I have personally found that $12 is a sweet spot for them, but I did just sell a couple at my most recent convention for $15, and they sold great that way too. Next is popping fidgets. So similar to the gummy worms and how everybody likes the fidgets, this is something that almost every single market bestsellers that I saw mentioned that were bestsellers for them. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I personally cannot hardly give these away. They do not sell for me, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, different strokes for different folks, right? Something that sells well for somebody else might not sell at all for you. And this is the case with me, but I'm still going to include it because it was unanimous practically that these are best sellers. I'm just going to link Cable and Canvas on Etsy for you in the description box because they have tons of adorable little pops. They are famous for the little mushroom pop, the squid pop, the strawberry. They have little cats and teacups. They have holiday ones with Christmas trees and bunny rabbits and carrots. They have tons for you to choose from. These do not take very much time. I've seen people put them on keychains and people just leave them as they are. They sell between $8 and $15 normally. I have seen them go for as low as $5, but I personally would not recommend selling them that low just based on how long it takes to make them. You got to pay yourself for your time. And obviously that doesn't even take into account the cost of materials. Next up is another critter, but this time it is mythical. These are little baby dragons. This is actually my pattern, so shameless plug here, but I'm not just saying that to boost sales on my Etsy. These are legitimately best sellers from hundreds of people who have purchased this pattern and have let me know that every single time they make a little baby dragon, it sells. I wrote this pattern because I was struggling to find a little dragon pattern that was super quick, super easy, but that still came out a substantial enough size for me to get a good enough price for the 45 minutes or so that I spent making it. And I tried tons of little no-sew dragon patterns on Etsy, and I was never able to find one that worked well for me. So that is why I came up with Nyx the Dragon. As I mentioned, this little baby dragon only takes 30 to 45 minutes for fast crocheters. It can take up to an hour for slower crocheters, as I've heard. You can do endless color combos with these little guys because you have the body color, the wing color, and also the little stripe down their back for the spikes. I sell my little Nyx the Dragons for $25, but I've heard reports of people selling them in the $15 to $25 range. Something that I do with mine though is I offer a little adoption certificate and a little carrier with the dragons so that when people adopt their dragon, they can carry them around the market or around the festival, wherever I'm vending, with the little dragon head poking out of the carrier. And that has been shown to bring in some sales for me because other people see it and are interested in where they can adopt a dragon. Next up are turtles. Any turtles tend to sell well, but there are two that I saw repeated across multiple accounts on social media. The first being the cheeky turtle. This little guy has a detachable shell, and underneath that shell, he hides a little bazonkadonk little secret. And this is the best seller because, for whatever reason, people love the butts. It's humorous for the little kids. They think that it's funny. And for adults, I guess they're just into that Kim Kardashian figure. These cheeky turtles sell for between $12 and $15 pretty regularly. The other turtle pattern that I want to mention is this little land turtle. On part 1, we mentioned sea turtles. But if you're anything like me, you don't like making sea turtles because you don't like making the flippers. What's great about these little land turtles is that it still looks like a turtle, but you don't have to spend all the time and repeating making the same thing over and over again for their 4 flippers. These are just little bobble stitches for the legs, so it cuts your time pretty much in half that it takes to crochet these. And in my experience, consumers don't really pay attention to what type of turtle it is, if it is a tortoise or if it is a sea turtle, if it is a cute color combo that they like, and if you go the extra mile and turn the shell into like a fruit or a cinnamon roll or a flower or something like that, they don't really care if it has the flippers or if it has the little bobble stitches. That's my experience anyways. These little land turtles you can sell for between $6 and $15. Next up is cats. Now, not the loaf cats. We talked about that last time, and those are still continuously bestsellers across the board. We're talking about this more unique shape of cat. It's kind of like a loaf cat. It's definitely not a realistic cat, but it has more of a realistic shape with the arch back, the sticking up tail. I'll be honest with you, this is kind of a pricey pattern, but every time I have brought one of these style cats to market, it has sold. And I know for a fact that that is not just my experience. Depending on what size your cat turns out to be, you can fetch between a $15 and $30 price for these. I highly recommend doing different types of cats, some tuxedo cats, some Siamese cats, all white, all black, etc. Just like what I said with the loaf cats though, if you do more of a variegated tortoiseshell type cat, those are the least likely to sell. I don't know why that is. I feel like just in general, that type of cat in real life is one of the least popular. So I would recommend you putting your time to doing tuxedo cats, and calico cats are probably going to be your two best sellers. Next is snakes. These are very easy to make because once you get past the head, it is pretty mindless. And this is another one where you can break out that variegated yarn that you have no idea what to use for anything else, because people love the snakes in all different colors. You could do natural colors, of course. You could do color changes to make it look like a king snake or a rattlesnake, etc. Or you could get fun with it and do rainbow snakes. This is a really quick, easy, free pattern from Ribbler. Snakes tend to sell between $12 to $22, depending on the size that they come out to be, of course. And make sure that you pay yourself more if you're doing color changes, because that takes extra time. In the past, I actually made a snake that looks like a pretzel when it's all like wound up. And I actually put a thin piece of bonsai wire in it so that it held its shape. So that might be something that you're interested in doing. Obviously, it's not necessary or required. It's just a little extra something to make that sale and let the consumer know there's a little tiny stream of wire in it. It's not going to interfere with its cuddleability, but it will help it stay into shape if you want to play with it and almost make it sort of a fidget type thing. Next is pickles. I personally put my pickles in a pickle jar and they always sell like hot cakes, or in this case, they sell like pickles. These are very fast to make so that you can put them at a lower price point. Pickles, I think, are fair between $5 to $10. I personally put a $10 price on mine, but I do make my pickles very girthy. There are so many pickle lovers out there, and even if you don't like pickles, the novelty of picking up a crocheted pickle that's a plushie out of a pickle jar is just something that a lot of people love. They can give them as gag gifts. It's just a novelty item that makes people smile, and in my experience, draws people into the booth. If you wanted to do something extra with your pickles, you could also get those little paper bags from Amazon that vendors use when they're actually selling real pickles to put them in. So that way the customer can use tongs to get their pickle out of the pickle jar and then put it in their little sleeve. Obviously, it's not necessary, but it might help you sell a few when you have that interactivity at your display. I'm going to invite you to hit that subscribe button. On the channel, we do videos just like this: pattern roundups, market vlogs, shop with me's at craft stores, and lots of other cozy crochet content. So hit that subscribe button and join the Homebody family. Next up is tiny ducks in overalls, in hats, in clothing. Any time of year, people love little chibi fat ducks in clothes. Obviously, the little accessories that you choose to include or not include with it is going to have an effect on what you want to charge for them, but $10 to $20 is a good range. You could even go as high as $30 if you're doing multiple outfit or costume pieces. This is one of those things that I think would be a great build a duck station, so you could have the little ducks in all different colors that people could pick out. They could pick out a hat, a shirt, or a bow or a tie or a purse or a backpack or something like that, and offer a little adoption certificate. For something like that, you might be able to get closer to the $30 price tag if you have that interactivity of people getting to build their duck. Then we have chickens. I know that we have all have heard of the Mabel chicken, but this is a concept that is similar to the bees, where every crocheter practically at a market is going to be selling the Mabel chickens. So if you also love chickens and want to provide that to people, then this pattern is something that's a little bit different, because instead of just being a straight across back, this one has their little heads sticking up, so it looks a little bit more realistic. These sell great not only in rural areas but everywhere. I actually make my chickens in blue with a little purple comb, and if you are a fan of the game Stardew Valley, that is an homage to Stardew Valley. I tend to vend at conventions and places where gamers are readily available to purchase, but even when I've taken my blue chickens to non-conventions, they still sell really well. I like to have a variety of chicken colors at my booth. I like having your standard brown and white, but I also do black chickens with red combs with little white embroidered eyes, which look very, very cool. Of course, the blue chickens, this is a great time to break out your Bernat tweed yarn if you have any of that yarn. Chickens sell between $12 and $25. I always put a $25 price tag on mine, and mine sell really regularly at that price. And our last market bestseller across the board are stress balls. These are not one that I have ever personally made, but so many people say that these are best sellers for them, and these are incredibly easy to make. You do have the extra cost of actually having to buy the ball that's inside of them, but for the actual crochet casing itself, I can't see this taking more than 15 minutes, if even that. And similar to the gummy worms or the popping fidgets, people like something that serves a purpose instead of just being cute, which, don't get me wrong, is awesome in itself. It's not only cute, it also serves a little bit of a functionality when they can squish it and see all that come out of its mouth. It's fun for kids. Adults love it. You could even put keychains on it for backpacks or purses. Most people sell these between $5 and $12. I've seen with the $8 price tag being the most universal across the board. Well, there you have it, 17 market best sellers. Leave me a comment down below what your crochet market bestsellers are. There's no gatekeeping here. We're just all trying to make money doing what we love. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. I wish you the very best of luck in your crochet vending journey. I hope that you make a lot of money, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.